Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the podcast. It's my pleasure
Thank you.
having you here on board.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, ma'am. So, before we get started, how would you like to introduce yourself to our audience watching this podcast?
Well, my name is Anu Suresh. I'm actually Anuradha Suresh. And I would like people to know that I am someone who works very closely with the local community here, especially for youth empowerment through education and arts.
Right, bro. Seeing your profile, you have a very good, significant experience in both science and music. So, which entered your life first, and how have they both impacted your life and making you do what you do today?
Um, to me, if you're asking which one came first, music came first in my life because music was there even before I was born. My parents, my mom was listening to music all the time. So, and my family comes from musical background, not necessarily performing types, but learning music and singing. And so music came first to me, and science came as I moved along with academic endeavors. So I think in a way they both complement each other even today for me. What I learned in science, I'm able to apply to my arts or my music. What I'm learning in my arts, I'm able to use it in my science. So I always feel like science and arts are like pair of my eyes. So there is nothing like one is better than other or one started gave me more rewards than other. So that's how I look at it.
Nice one. So yeah, I would like to add on to this. Like many of the famous scientists have some kind of a musical thing associated to their profile. For example, Einstein played the violin, and Richard Feynman played this bongo drums. So do you think there is some kind of connection that is that there is some kind sort of connection between science and music?
So I'm not an expert in trying to give you scientific data or anything like that about how uh, science and music have always gone hand in hand. Like you said, there are personalities in life who have been scientists who have always also had musical background or interest in music. I also believe every child, when born, is musical. You know, there is no such thing as a child doesn't have interest in music. Singing ABC is also in a musical form only. Nobody says ABCD, they sing it only. Everything is
Mhm.
in a musical format. There might be people who are more inclined to pursue that as an art form, and for others, it would be something that would be the grounding factor, from as a stress reliever or anything from their regular job. So for me, even though I would have probably I had more music when I was growing up and less science until I finished my 10th grade, 10th class. But I feel like now, especially the way music is now, I feel like it's more important for people to understand the science and math of the music and then perform along with that. Because there's so much that goes with technology and technology advancement in music, world. So most of the people, if you look at it, they are like sound engineers, and then they do things with the background of science, but they're musical, and a musician is also part sound engineer. I've seen so many musicians who went and did a degree in engineering, but they came back and applied that knowledge to what they are doing right now. So that's how I feel. So I feel it's hand in hand and it helps everyone. I feel like everyone has both scientific part in them and musical interest in them. And because of circumstances in our life and our other ambitions, we choose one over the other a little bit higher. That's it.
Can you talk about your journey in science? Like what all did you do, and can you talk about your journey in biotech specifically?
So I was the very first batch in India for 10 plus 2 in Tamil Nadu. So I was the first batch and my, I was born in Chidambaram and I was raised in Neyveli. So at that time in Neyveli, we did not have a lab for a science students. So I moved to Chennai to start my plus 2 and I want to say like the one which was like a one with a biology major. I did my undergraduate in zoology from Women's Christian College in Chennai. I did my master's and MPhil from Delhi University, and I did master's in anthropology, with an emphasis in forensic science. So my thesis was in forensic science.
Hmm.
And then I moved to United States in the 80s, and when I looked for jobs in forensic science specifically, they were all like government jobs. And at that time, I was not a citizen, I had a green card. So I was not eligible to get into certain government jobs because I was not a US citizen at that time. So then I was looking at the next option for me with my interest, my background in science. And at that time, believe it or not, biotech was not a big thing.
Hmm.
So I chose biotech because it was relatable to what I have been studying. Because in forensic science, I also did physical anthropology. So it was forensic science, serology, and osteology, bone study, and all that. So I was able to relate to biotech. So in Indian community, which had just been relooked at my age when they were all there, they all only knew engineering and MBA, and if it is bio, it had to be medical doctors. So people
Hmm.
were not very aware of biotechnology at that time, and it was a good place for me. I didn't want people to come and tell me what to do. It was better
Right.
for people around me who didn't know what I was doing. So they kept saying, "What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this?" But then what happened was, because I was new to this culture and I did not know a lot of things, it actually helped me because I was
Hmm.
very fearless. I didn't know what the expectation was. So when I was doing my master's program, suddenly there was like something that was campus interviews by
Hmm.
companies. And I had not heard that in India because I didn't go to a professional engineering or a medical college. So I just went casually. They said you have to write a resume. I didn't know what a resume was. I just wrote like a piece of paper. I did something and I walked into that. And they said they were looking for internships for summer from the master's program. And they asked me some questions. I answered them honestly. And here I was. I got my first internship at Genentech, which was the biggest pharmaceutical company, which still is. And then all the friends in the Indians, oh, she must have known she wanted to get into Genentech. That's why they went to biotech. No, I had no clue. I still tell I have no clue. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So that's what it is. And then from there it was a role because the second year they again called me for another internship. And once I finished that internship, I was hired as a temp to permanent in the hybridoma. Actually, first year I did my internship at Medicinal Analytical Chemistry, where they developed radio receptor assays. And I basically worked with fetal hormones and fetal receptors. And then the second year, they hired me in a plasmid preparation unit because this was preparing plasmids, thousands and thousands of plasmids for earthquake safety because I live in California. So the third time when they hired me temp to permanent, I was hired in the antibody department. So I worked with a group called the Hybridoma Development Group, where we made monoclonal antibodies. Specifically, I worked on several projects and I worked on rheumatoid arthritis and a few others to name. I was also the person who did the hybridoma prep itself, which means I had to immunize the mice, sack the mice,
Hmm.
and then work on developing monoclonals and testing them. Basically, in those days, we did not have a lot of machinery. We had to do ELISA by hand. So do ELISAs of at least 10 to 20 plates every day. And also, I was one of the few people who was in those days very much qualified in mammalian cell culture. So
Hmm.
mammalian cell culture was just coming up at that time. They had only few people at that time. So I was one of those who was trained in that in tissue culture lab. Then eventually I moved out of Genentech to some of the spin-offs from Genentech, and it was called GenFarm International. Again, I worked in the hybridoma department there also. I worked in protein design lab for a short period to develop assays for them. Mine was in assay development mostly. And At some point, due to family requirements and family demands, I decided not to work in the biotech industry as an industry person. When I removed myself from the industry, I was the senior research associate, and
Right.
then I went to into teaching academics. So at that time, I was more focused on taking care of my daughter. So I was trying to find jobs to fit those needs. Believe it or not, I ended up being kindergarten teacher. I took a pay cut of almost three-fourths of what I was making in the industry,
Oh.
but it was not. I don't regret that at all. Okay, so because that was the best time I had with my child, and I've taught kindergarten, first grade, fourth grade, and then I moved into a one of these private Montessori schools where I was teaching sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and I became a science director in that school. And eventually, I moved into teaching into community college. That's when again I hit biotech. So I moved into community college. I started teaching biology and biotech. At that time was the time when 9/11 happened, 2001.
Mm.
So what happened was a lot of the technicians in the aviation industry lost their jobs.
Right.
So because San Francisco Bay Area has a lot of biotech and biomanufacturing companies, California state wanted us to retrain all these people, all these workers back into the biomanufacturing so they can get jobs somewhere.
Right.
So we were granted a federal and state grant. Through that, I developed a program in biomanufacturing. I developed it for to train people who had no science background, almost no science background. So the program will run for 13 weeks. And then it was a cohort. That means it will be a group of people who
Mm.
come together and they will leave after that. So I did 13 cohorts continuously, back to back, with 5 days break. So first 6 weeks, I would teach them all the basics, like, lab measurements and everything, math that is behind all this, and also a little bit about biochemistry, biotech, and ELISAs, and all the assays and all the experiments that they are supposed to do, even things like pH meter. How do you use it? How do you do that? Where do you do it? Making solutions, all that. The last 3 to 4 weeks will be developing soft skills, teach them how to write resume, how to interview. And then I had a business liaison officer with me. She and my program coordinator will go and talk to all the companies. They will say, okay,
Mm.
we are doing this program. These people are ready to come in as your manufacturing technicians. You can just come and interview them just for them to get interview practice. But if you like any one of them, you can interview them again after the program is done and you can hire them. So backdoor entry for them. So we did that for 13 cohorts and it was very successful. 94% placement rate happened. And then the fund ran out. So we couldn't pursue that route anymore. So then
I see.
I was hired again by a Mission Valley Regional Occupational Program, which is also in Fremont where I live. It's kind of like an equivalent of Polytechnic Institute for high
Mm.
school students.
I see.
There I developed 4 courses for biotechnology, introduction, advanced biotechnology, research in biotechnology for high school students. And basically in this country, we have something called as articulation. When you're saying articulation, the word itself means talking to somebody, right? Articulate that. So in high school, whatever courses I taught, that was articulated to the local community college. That means they were accepting this course for credits. And that college, the same program was articulated to the state university. So these children will get state university credits. And that was articulated to University of California. And then, because of the programs they were taking with me, and because mine was articulated, they could take it all the way from high school to University of California credits for the course they were taking with me. So that was a big deal for me. One, I did develop all the courses, and at some point, again, due to some personal requirements where my parents were not feeling well, I had to go more and more to India to take care of them. So at that point, I decided that maybe I cannot do this full time. I needed my students to be taken care of by somebody who's coming in full time. So I decided to step away from that. Right when I was about to step away from that, I was hired by UC Berkeley Extension to teach the teachers. It's like training the trainers program. where I teach courses for them to teach vocational training and teach them about the policies, the legalities about the students, and classroom management, grading, and everything. So I'm still part of that faculty, but I have not been. I want to say in the last few years, I haven't taught much there. From there, I went off again to bunch of community colleges. The last one being Evergreen Valley College in San Jose. I've taught like basic science and also environmental sciences, which is what I've done. Since 2023, I have not taught bio or biotech in a classroom, but that's how long my career in biotechnology is.
Amazing, fantastic story. Yeah, I wanted to, when you're talking about family and stuff, like I had a doubt. You mentioning earlier that you were one of the initial batches for 10 plus 2. So how did the thought of ever moving to the US come to you? Because at that time, I don't think moving to the US would be a fad like what it is today. So people typically would want to take any government jobs at India. So how did you get the thought of moving to US? Was it your family or like what did you get influenced by your circle?
No, it was because of my marriage.
Hmm.
I got married and I had to move with him. He was already living here, so I had to
I
move here
see.
to California. I mean, I didn't think too deeply about where to live and all that because I'm not one of those people. I know younger generation women now are very confident, very strong about what they want and what they don't want. For me, I'm sure in my generation also there were a lot of women like that. I was not one of those. I'm always a person who goes with the flow and I make the best out of what I get. Which is why I always thought when I had to teach a kindergarten class, everybody is like, "Oh my God, you worked in Gen and Tech, you're going and teaching in kindergarten class." That's not what I thought. I thought even if this is the opportunity that the life is giving me right now, I have to be the best kindergarten teacher. And I can guarantee you, those children are still in touch with me. They're all married now. Okay, so and some of them have not only been in academics very good, they have been very good at music, not here, but in India with A.R. Rahman sir and other people singing there. So my takeaway from all this is life will not give you exactly what you want. But whatever life gives, if you make the best out of it, you'll be successful.
Amazing one. And I wanted to ask you, how did moving to California transform your mindset both personally and emotionally as well?
Initially, it was very hard because you probably cannot relate to what I'm saying because we did not have we didn't even have what you probably don't know now, Skype. We didn't have Skype. We didn't have WhatsApp. We didn't have Zoom. We did not have cell phones. Okay, and all we had was one telephone where when we call, it was called as an STD call for 3 minutes. Okay, so we had to pay for 3 minutes and then it will get cut, and again we have to pay again. And the only communication we had with our family and friends was through uh, um, something called as aerogram. Okay, aerogram is like a mail that goes on a plane. So it'll take 15 days for us to receive anything. So it was very hard because you're at a very young age where friends matter a lot, and you've left
Hmm.
everybody and you're trying to start your life here in this new country. All this is only because of my generation. In your generation, it's not going to be a problem. I spoke English, but not as much and as fluently like how people in this country were doing at that time. So when I go somewhere, I'll hesitate to speak. And then when there was no GPS, remember? So if I have to go for an interview, I have to call them and ask for address and how to get there. So they will
Hmm.
be giving me directions and I won't know what they're saying. I wouldn't understand. So if I write it down, it'll take, I used to carry a piece of paper where all the directions are and drive and keep looking at it. That's how we all did. And I remember every time I apply for a job and I know the person is calling, I will not pick up the machine. I'll phone. I'll just let it go to voice machine so I can go back and rewind it 10 times to hear what they said because I didn't understand the English. It was difficult, but now I call this my home. I call Fremont my home because I'm extremely well connected with all the local community leaders both in arts council and education. And I've made friends in the mainstream who are different. I mean, my best friend is 80 plus years old. I'm able to move around and speak my mind out in this culture, and I feel that is only because I live here. The blessing of living here for a person like me who came in 80s has transformed me into a person, the strength that I have today, which I didn't know at that time.
It's amazing. And you having a lot of experience in science, and you were mentioning a couple of reasons earlier, like why you had to quit that. And I just wanted to know what led to you starting your own music academy, and what was the reason? Like apart from the reasons you mentioned, is there any other particular reason that you wanted to start your own music academy? Is that been a passion from the childhood that you wanted to do something like that, or it just became a chance event?
My life is all chance event. Okay, so let me just put it that way. But I was very much interested in music. I grew up with music. I was one of those people in the 70s who sang Carnatic music, which was not very popular at that time. Okay, so it was not everybody's like, yo, Carnatic music, who wants to listen to Sapasa, right? So,
Hmm.
but somehow I was attracted to that music from a very young age. Everywhere I go, people would ask me to sing. And at that time, I wanted a career in music in a way, but I always thought my parents knew what was best for me.
Hmm.
So I went into science at that point. And then when I came here, a couple of my friends at that time, they asked, because they knew I like singing, they asked me if I would love to teach, if I'd like to teach their child. That was the first incident that happened, I want to say in 1988 or 1989, somewhere around that time. I started teaching a couple of kids at home. And then I knew that I really liked it more than, I mean, I like singing myself, but I also love teaching. So I said, okay, why don't I try this? So eventually, after 10 years, we registered it as a music school. Initially, it was called as Bharati Kalalaya. Then we had to change names for certain requirements, and now it is called Shruti Swaralaya. So even though I'm teaching since 1988, officially we had a music school started in 1998, and we are still continuing. So I also did, I want to say that I did have a big vision. I wanted to have the school develop into a Kalakshetra or something like that, into a big
Hmm.
school. So I hired a lot of teachers. At one point, I had 33 teachers teaching part-time, different disciplines. In Carnatic music, vocal, I had many teachers, violin, mridangam, and then Hindustani vocal, Hindustani violin, then tabla. I had sitar, I had veena. I also had like a keyboard and rubab. Rubab is an Afghani instrument, and
Hmm.
languages too. We taught Tamil, we taught Sanskrit. We also had keyboard classes for movie songs, Hindi movie
Oh.
songs,
Hmm.
and piano. So I did elaborate a lot in this particular endeavor, but the format was not ideal to support financially.
Right.
So eventually I started scaling it down, and right now we are doing vocal, and on and off we do some Veena and other classes. Instead
Hmm.
of hiring teachers, we do more like workshops with others.
I see. And ma'am, like a lot of today, like there is a lot of rising startup culture in the Indian community, tech community, or whatsoever community it is. And if say somebody wants to come to San Francisco, or if they want to come to the US for building their startup, how hard is it in today's generation for an Indian to come and establish their company or startup in the US?
Tough question. So I think at the end of the day, if your product is something that is genuinely useful for the community, right? And people see a value in that, then you can find somebody to invest in that. As they invest in that, I think it is important to hire the right type of people to work with you and understand the financial commitments for the first 5 years and see how you can sail the boat. then it'll be okay at that point. Um, I have not done any startups in technology, so I can tell you that with arts, if I survive 30 years, that means you can do it with technology too, if you are bringing the right product to the community. It's always right product to the community that has human value. So that is what I've seen flourish a lot. Um, for me personally, if anything, if we are doing whatever we are doing in life, right? If there is no human touch to that, then that particular business doesn't have a lot of growth. So I
Very well.
think you might approach me on AI, which I cannot answer at this point. I'm telling that honestly because I don't know how it is going to affect my business. And I can say that we have been touched by certain things from technology already, because that in-person learning of anything is almost 50
Hmm.
50 right now. People learn through YouTubes, people learn through this. They have online classes with teachers and all that. And I did online too. I did Zoom classes during COVID time, to pandemic.
Hmm.
But personally, if you do not have somebody sit in front of you and learn with you, the bonding is not there. So
Exactly.
the answer to the indirect question of what would happen if there is no human touch, I don't know.
Hmm. That's nice one. So, based on my conversations with you so far in this podcast, and even before while we scheduled this podcast, I felt that you had a very unique perspective of unique take on life. And so I was thinking of bringing a small philosophical component to this podcast. So I would like to shoot a couple of questions now. What does a truly fulfilled life mean according to you?
Again, it comes back to the same thing. A truly fulfilled life is if you helped one human being to see whatever they need to do. For me, I've taught so many students and I've won awards. I've done so many things. But my true achievement was in one place that I can always feel, because when I went to India a while ago, um, there was this woman who was cleaning the apartments there,
Hmm.
and she came to me and she said that her daughter-in-law, who was very well educated, could not pursue her education because she married her son, this lady's son, and she's not, and the daughter-in-law's parents were not talking to her anymore. So I went to that girl and I asked, "What do you want to study?" And she had done undergraduate in computer science. And I asked her if she wanted to pursue it more because she already had a kid. She said she did.
Right.
And when she went back and I supported her to finish her master's, she got a job in the local university to do the data entries and as data administrator. And she has two kids now and she's taking care of her job. And this is my success story. It is not my
Hmm.
awards that define me. It doesn't
Right.
define me. And one other story is locally when I was teaching here in the ROP, which is Regional Occupational Program, you have students who are first generation, like people who have never gone to college, who have never been to school. And a lot of these kids were from gang-related violence. And
Oh, I
when
see.
they came to my class, they would behave badly. It's a lab class. They won't finish it. They would still want me to grade them and pass them and all that. Threaten
Hmm.
me all the time. And this one boy, he was known to be in the gang and he was failing. And he came to me and he said, Miss Anu, I'm failing. I said, okay, I know that because I'm the one who's grading you. He's like, um, but
What was the worst
you
threat
know,
you ever received?
this kid told me that I just got out from anger management class because I hit somebody. So he was trying to tell me that he's capable of all this.
And how did you react
And
to that?
then I just looked at him and I said, "So what did that guy do for you to be hitting him?" He said,
Hmm.
"No, he was in front of my car and he was doing very slowly or whatever it is. In the signal light, I got out and I hit him and I had to go." I said, "Okay, I will make sure I won't be in front of you." Okay. So he's like, "Are you not afraid of anything?" He's like, if you tell me that I am going to be immortal, you know, and then I will be afraid of whatever you're saying, you know. I'm
Mm.
definitely going to pass away someday, okay? If you do something to me and I pass away, I'm going to go anyway. You're the one who's going to be in the prison and your life is going to be ruined. So the chances you're taking is worse than the chances I'm taking. So he just walked away. And then he was not in my class in second semester. He went into some other elective. So at the end of the year, he came back with this big medal which said MIS, Most Improved Student. I just looked at him and said, "Who did you threaten to get that medal? Because I'm sure you threatened somebody." So he said, "You will never change, Miss Anu." I said, "You are not changing. Also, you are coming into lab chewing gum. Spit it out first and come and talk to me." Then he said he really started thinking about his life. And then I had kind of like a disaster in my home. There was a fire in my home. And when he found out, none of my Indian people came first. This boy
Oh,
came to me and he said, "Miss Anu, do you need food?
amazing.
Do you need money? You know, I'm working in a place." So that is my success story. So at
Amazing.
the end of the day, what makes you life full is when you see that you go in full circle, helping a human being in a small way, and they go in a chain reaction and do that. No recognition, no awards, no clapping, no applause. It's very internal. That's how I feel.
Amazing. So when we were talking about immortality, I just happened to recall one of Steve Jobs' commencement speech, which he gave at Stanford, where he says at the last, "You are going to die anyways. So stop stay believing or stop staying in the dogma developed by other people's beliefs. Start living your own life." But still, it might give us a temporary motivation or something. But still, we often see people always stuck by the dogma developed by other people's belief. In fact, they live some other people's lives, even though despite knowing that their time is limited, they seek validation. So what advice do you have for those people?
I don't have any advice, but then I will say that we live in a society. We are going to be influenced by others. If we cannot just escape that, okay, we cannot just say, okay, we are going to pass away one day, so don't live other people's, don't listen to others, don't do. That's not how we live. We don't live in a jungle, you know. We live in a society which is made of certain norms, certain requirements to behave like a normal human being, compassionate human being. And when you are in an environment, you are going to be influenced by others who are in that environment. But the only thing that I can think of is, when you are getting influenced, you need to sit back and say whether it will work for you or not. If something
Mm.
doesn't work for you, and if you are not mature enough to understand that it doesn't work for you, then you're in trouble. You know what? We cannot say, okay, don't listen to us. There might be things that in other people's life that will work for you because you never thought in that term. If you're chasing money because somebody made big money, you cannot chase money. You can find a way that you can do a good job, and then if money follows it, success follows it, fine. But if you're not destined to, at least you tried.
Right. Mm.
So I do believe that you have to do your best every single day when you wake up. Okay, and one of your best should be being compassionate to another human being, you know. But it does not mean like you have to either follow somebody and become a failure, and follow somebody and think that is the only way to success. Why is this? Why is this important? Is because each one of us are unique on this earth. Each one of us have certain skills that another person doesn't have. Each one of us have common skills, but beyond that we also have something very unique about us, and our only business is to go find out what that uniqueness is and how that will make us happy and successful. Success is not measured by money alone. Success is measured by being comfortable in your own skin, at least for me.
Amazing. We're almost nearing to the end of the podcast. So I keep asking this one question to my guests. If you could go back in time and fix something from your past, what would it be and why?
um, if I could go back in my life, um, is again a little bit philosophical. One thing I would have done is spent a lot more time with my mom. who passed away recently. I did not grow up. I was typically like regular kid, having problems with her when I was growing up, fighting with her and doing things and all that. And my mom is one of the strongest personality, a role model for me because it was hard for me. I'm sure I don't know how my daughter feels, but she was my mom would always uh, she was not the person who will always be like a movie mother who will hug and say, "Oh, I'm so glad you came." And after a certain age, when I got married and everything, she started having her own life. And that really irritated me because every time I go from here, I wanted her to drop all her stuff and take care of me and my child and do everything for me. But my mom had certain things. She studied. She did certain courses. She wrote a lot. She wrote a lot of stuff which I'm using right now for my Harikatha and everything. At that
Mm-hmm.
time, I did not understand the value of my space and my time.
Mm-hmm.
Because when your parents grow older, you still think that you can demand time and space for you. They also have only one life to live, just like us.
Right.
And if I could go back, develop this confidence and strength to find out her space and her time in between all this chaos.
Amazing. Oh.
That's all I would like to.
So, what is your one final advice to all the people watching this podcast?
I have. I don't think I can give any advice, but I can give suggestions. The one thing that I can suggest to everybody is enjoy your life. Enjoy every single day when you wake up, no matter how you feel that day. If your health allows you to get up, walk, talk, and do your normal stuff, enjoy the day. Always be compassionate to others. Okay, giving is the only thing that will keep you happy. Everything else, you can go out and eat in restaurant. After some time, you're full. You can make a lot of money. You can buy materials. After that, you're bored. The only thing that you want to keep doing again and again is when you're helping others because that kind of feeling is the one that keeps you going. So give a lot. If you have 10 rupees or 100 rupees or $100, give 10% of that to the person who needs right next to you. You don't need to go search an organization. Find somebody
Mhm.
locally in your community. That's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a wonderful experience having you on the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Thank you for having me, Ambrish. And I appreciate your time also. I hope you're very successful in your life in whatever you're doing
Thank you so much,
and
ma'am.
you're happy and healthy in everything.
Thank you so much, ma'am.